Today, during this tutorial, I will be meeting with Jen, who's a 24-year-old single female who was referred to this office after a recent domestic violence assault. We will be demonstrating crisis intervention, and I will be treating it as if it's the first time meeting with her. So I will be starting with her signing a consent form and then demonstrating the first step of crisis intervention, which would be defining the problem. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
So before we begin, I'm just going to go over our statement of client rights, which is pretty much a consent form and confidentiality agreement.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about what's going on. So here at this office, confidentiality is very important. We will do everything we can to make sure that everything that is said here stays between us. There are a few situations in which information shared may go outside of this office. Those three situations are abuse and or neglect. So if we suspect that either a child, elder, or someone who is disabled is being abused or neglected, we would have to report that to the appropriate agency. The second situation would be if there's any expressed suicidal or homicidal intent. So if you express that you yourself are suicidal or that you want to hurt somebody else, we would also have to go to the appropriate authorities with that.
Okay.
And the third situation would be subpoenas or court orders. So in this situation, if a court issues an order for your records, we would discuss that with you. And then from there, if you want to release your record, you would sign a release, you'll get released. If you don't, then it would be brought to our clinical director and the executive director, and the options would go from there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's okay.
So I will have you sign right there.
But are you going to be like writing down what I say about my perpetrator? Because I'm really worried that if anything ever got to the courts, then, that would make him really mad.
For purposes of confidentiality, we will not be. If you were to give us a name and that's going forward with any charges or something like that, we would put that down if it was okay with you. But because you're expressing that you don't want to share that information, you don't want that to go any further, then we would not.
Okay.
Then I'm just going to sign the witness. All right. So what's bringing you in today? All right. The next portion of this would be defining the problem. So what's bringing you in today?
I love him, but I'm scared to say I've never said this out loud.
Okay.
I've been with my boyfriend for 6 years, and he's always been, pretty verbally negative towards me, but then recently I wanted to leave him, and he found out. So when I was home alone, he showed up when I was not expecting him to, and so I went into my bedroom and I locked the door, and I went into the bathroom and I locked the door, and he went through both of the doors and to corner me in the bathroom with a grill fork to force me to be with him. And so I was just so scared. I told him what he needed to hear to make him stop, but I just feel really stuck. And what if he shows up at my work?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's pretty understandable that you feel that fear and concern about him showing up in other places. I'm really sorry that happened to you. Has anything like this happened before?
He's never been, this was one of his first, real physical aggressions, but there have been a lot of verbal threats, and he does a lot of posturing. He always pretends like he's going to hit me.
Mm-hmm.
But this was the first time that from my point of view, he broke in and attacked me, even though, he was living there with me too. I just don't feel like he has the right to show up when I don't know he's coming.
Yeah. I mean, and if you have the doors locked and he's still coming into the doors, that's still invading your privacy. And even if he is or was living there at the time, for him to act in that way still isn't okay.
It just makes me think, like, I was in my bedroom with the door locked and in my bathroom with the door locked.
Mhm.
What if I was in the shower? You know, what was he planning to do? What if our daughter was there?
Yeah.
Would he have put her in harm's way? And so I feel like there's all these things that I'm scared of, and I don't know where to start. So that's why I'm here seeing you. Hopefully I can get some answers.
Of course. Yeah, and while you're here, you know, our main purpose is to provide support, some resources. And I know right now is probably a really difficult time to kind of wrap your head around everything that's going on and kind of figuring out where to go from here. Have you thought at all about, you know, what you want to do with this situation?
Well, I tried talking to my mom about it because I thought that, you know, she would be able to say something to help me, maybe ask, you know, if I could live with her. And, you know, she pretty much said, you should know what to say to him to not make him react that way. So now I'm just wondering, like, could I have done something more to make him happy, not make him treat me that way? You know, I guess I should know what to say to not get a reaction out of him like that, because, you know, it just must have, that's not normal. I must have done something to make him do that. And so I'm trying to figure out, you know, if there's something in me that I can fix to make the relationship work, because I do love him. And so I don't want to leave. I want him to change.
Okay. I think a lot of kind of what you're expressing, the feeling that, you know, there's something that you did or the feeling that you need to change, you know, I want to validate that feeling, because a lot of people that kind of go through these type of situations, they feel that way. It's a normal feeling. However, at the same time, even if you were maybe, I don't know, really, really friendly in the way that you were talking or didn't have the door locked, there's no guarantee that he wouldn't act that way. And if he's already kind of been having these behaviors, whether you said verbally putting you down or, you know, kind of being a little bit aggressive, but maybe not to this extent, it's a form of control and a form of showing power. So it's not anything that you've done. You know, it's something within himself that he probably feels a need of control and power in the situation.
Yeah. Like, for example, there are times when he's come home and dinner's not ready, so he's been mad, and I've had, you know, a pot of soup on the stove, and he hasn't thrown it at me, but he's just taken it and basically just poured it on the ground because he was mad that dinner wasn't ready. And now, you know, I look back and I think, and, you know, maybe, you know, if I just had dinner ready that night, that wouldn't have happened. So that is my fault if I started dinner sooner.
I can understand the way that you're kind of thinking about that. But again, one, you're making dinner for him, you know?
Yeah.
Not everybody gets dinner made for them,
Yeah.
you know? He was unhappy in the moment. That dinner was not ready right that second. That's on his part, needing to control the situation, but also he wants what he wants at that moment.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing that you did wrong. You're doing everything that you possibly can to have dinner ready. But, you know, you did mention you have a child. I'm sure trying to get everything in order at some exact time of day, it's probably pretty difficult when you also have a child, too.
Yeah. I don't want to he's not mean to her, and he's not mean to our daughter. So I'm just worried, like, if anyone finds out that I'm complaining about this, that, you know, she might never be able to see him again, and then she might hate me for it if she can never see him again. And I just feel like everything is falling apart right now, and I don't have anyone to help me.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you're kind of really struggling with what to do, and that you love him and that you do want to be with him, but you kind of like to see some things change.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, the problem right now is his reactions, but also kind of looking at different ways to kind of go about things and maybe learning more a little bit about, you know, power and control and abusive situations.
Do you
And-
think maybe like at some point you could talk to me about that stuff?
Of course.
I'm not really comfortable coming to anyone else. I just the least amount of people that know about this,
course.
the better.
Of course. And, everything, is confidential, and it is very, very difficult to even walk through the doors downstairs and even ask for help. So, I'm very happy that you're here because it is extremely difficult to walk through those doors and then even to talk about this.
Thank you. Yeah, I said I was going to a dentist appointment, so I really don't want anyone to know.
Of course. We'll keep that going.
Okay.
The next portion of this will be ensuring safety. I know that you mentioned, you were having some fear, and especially in that moment, you were feeling pretty fearful. And you had mentioned that a lot of what he's been doing has been more verbal put downs and some physical aggression. Do you mind if we do a danger assessment?
No, I don't mind.
Okay. Some of the questions might be difficult to answer. If
Okay.
you don't feel comfortable answering, that's perfectly okay. It is about 20 questions, okay?
Okay.
So we'll try to go through it relatively fast, okay? So all these questions are regarding the last 12 months.
Okay.
So the first one is, has the physical violence increased in severity or frequency over the past year?
Yeah. Definitely. It went just from verbal things to, throwing or touching inanimate like objects near me to scare me, then to this last time really, getting physical and using a weapon.
What was the weapon?
It was a grill fork that
Oh,
he
you
got
mentioned
from the kitchen.
Okay. Does he own a gun?
He does. It's currently at his parents' house, so he definitely, if he wanted to, would
has
have access to it.
Okay. And have you left him after living together within the last year?
Yeah. I haven't left him. We've been living together for 6 years, but I want to.
Okay. So you have not left him after living together?
No.
Okay.
He still has rights to be at the house. Like his name is on the lease, so sometimes he won't come home for days at a time and then show up.
When it comes to domestic violence, leases can actually be broken in that situation, but we can also talk more about that at a later time if that's something you want to explore.
Even if it's just his lease if his name is on the lease.
Okay, so on the shared lease. I can look more into that more for you.
Okay.
Is he unemployed?
No.
Does he threaten to kill you?
He has in the past, but that's such a big threat. I always just assume he's joking or he'll take it back later. Just mad at me, wants to kill me because I'm being stupid.
Has he ever avoided being arrested for domestic violence?
Could you please repeat that one?
Has he avoided being arrested for domestic violence?
I don't think so. I've never really called the police, and he's been very reluctant to tell me about past relationships, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you have a child that is not his?
No.
Has he ever forced you to have sex when you did not wish to do so?
Sometimes he wants to do it, and I say no, and I tell him I'm too tired, but then he just pulls me over onto the side of the bed and does it anyways, and I don't fight him or anything, so I guess I wanted it.
Does he ever try to choke, strangle you, or cut off your breathing?
No.
Does he use illegal drugs?
No.
Is he an alcoholic?
Uh,
Or a problem drinker?
he likes to drink every day. Sometimes that makes him more mad.
Does he control most or all of your daily activities?
But, I'm not allowed to go anywhere unless I tell him where I'm going and what time I'm coming back. But that's normal. He just wants me to communicate with him, and if he doesn't know where I am, I can see how, he would get worried and then he gets really mad. But then next time I know just to tell him where I'm going, and hopefully he doesn't get mad.
for the sake of the tutorial, I am going to stop the danger assessment here so we can still work on the ensuring safety. So you're currently living with him
Yeah.
and you want to stay there, but you've also talked about maybe living with your mother.
Yeah, I just, my daughter, I don't want to move her schools, and my mom, she's always kind of been on his side. Like, she told me I should know what or what not to say, so I feel like maybe that wouldn't even be a good option.
Okay. Well,
Is
we
there
can
anything
explore
else?
that. We can explore that more. Have you thought at all about a restraining order or no abuse order?
Would I have to see him in court?
Possibly. So you would go to the court. The simple process of it is you would go to court. You would request a restraining order. They would give you a temporary one for about 10 days, and then in that 10 days, they then serve him to go to court. At that time, he either can show up or he might not show up. If he doesn't show up, the extension of the restraining order, the permanent restraining order, is granted. If he shows up, then he has the chance to fight it.
Can you come with me? Is there any, I can't do that alone. I know my mom, she won't come with me.
So I personally can't come with you, but within the court system and through this agency, we have something called Safe Plan, which we have advocates at the court who kind of go through the whole process with you, kind of explain the different possible outcomes, making sure that everything on the order is exactly how it needs to be to get extended. It also goes in front of a judge as well. And then they also go into the courtroom with you to help provide you support so you're not completely alone in that process.
Can I put my cats and my daughter on this too? And can it be like, I'm just worried, like, what if I want my daughter and my cats? I feel like, he'd come around to see them. Like, is that something that I can include in the order?
I think that would be more of a question for the advocate because they're going to have all that specific information on what it entails. Because I know it sometimes can entail to your work as well, going a certain amount of time. I know that you were concerned about him showing up at your work.
Yeah.
But I can at least provide the resource if it's something you want to think over.
Yeah.
And then, give you the connection to them.
I would definitely like to think about it. Like I said, I'm worried about my daughter and his relationship, but I also, I worry what he'll do to me next time. It's just escalated over the years.
You need to worry about your own safety too, because you're a mother to your daughter and you need to be safe and be there for her as well.
Yeah. What if he kills me and then I can't be there for her? So.
And that's, a lot of the danger assessment is for us to really kind of get an idea of, clearly there's some risk here, but it's also kind of to really evaluate the severity of what's going on so that we know, but then also, some information for you as well, and then providing different resources.
Okay. So, I feel like it's probably the best plan for me to go home back to him tonight. He may or may not be there. Sometimes he doesn't come home, but I need to be there with my daughter. And would we be able to, if I decide tonight, could I even go to do the restraining order tomorrow?
So there's also something called an emergency order, which you can go through police and the court through that. But you definitely could go to the court tomorrow if you wanted to go tomorrow to do the restraining order. And that would grant you the temporary restraining order in which he doesn't have to show up to court for that. It would be granted and he has to stay away from you and not contact you during that time.
Okay.
Before the next time you would go to court.
I feel like at least I just need space to think, and a restraining order might give me the space that I need to think about what to do next, because I don't know right now.
Of course. The next portion of this will be providing support, but this is also something that has been going on throughout the entire encounter. You had mentioned that, you talk a lot with your mom. Do you have anyone else around you or in your life that is kind of a part of your support network? Or anyone that you trust?
No, everyone that I've become close with is really good friends with him, and so I feel like there's no one that I can trust, and I've just been really isolated because, you know, I kind of do things as he wants, and I have to tell him when I'm going somewhere, and he didn't really like a lot of my friends. So, you know, I don't mind being by myself, but you know, right now being by myself seems scary.
Probably pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Well, at least you know here what we can do. I know you mentioned that you want to continue talking. Um, this is kind of just you know a first meeting, but we can always continue counseling services if that's what you'd like. So we can go through the full intake process if you want, and then
Yeah.
having you assigned and continue these services.
Do you think we could schedule a session before I leave so that I can plan?
We could do
Okay.
that. Additionally, I don't know how interested you are in any groups, but we do also have support groups here as well. I know you don't really want to talk about it a lot. You don't want people to know, but these are groups for people who have gone through similar experiences. And it kind of, I know you said you're very isolated, so it might be a way, you know, to meet some other people that kind of get what you're going through. If you wanted to, I can give you those resources as well.
Yeah, I think I would like groups. You know, I think once I maybe get the restraining order, I would be able to go to a group because I wouldn't have to tell him where I was going. So that
course.
might be helpful, yeah.
Okay. So we can definitely explore that as well. And then other resources that we also have, you know, legal advocacy here, you know, if that were to be needed at some point. But I will also connect you with the court system and with our safe plan advocates.
That would be really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. So just to wrap up, today we demonstrated crisis intervention. So I had her sign a consent form, and then we kind of went through defining the problem that is going on, and then ensuring safety, in which we did a danger assessment, talking about a restraining order, and then just providing support, which was done throughout, but also kind of looking at different resources that she can use. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.